Hello and welcome to the Week in Nintendo right here on GVG. I'm your host, Steve Bowling, and if you're viewing this on YouTube, I just want you to know that, yes, I'm as upset by my appearance as you are. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right into things. It's an exciting week. There's a lot to come for the Switch 2. I've played quite a bit this week myself. We also have some news stories that I'd like to cover, but first let's talk about what is ahead for the Switch 2. Just a look at the coming weeks, because we have Pokemon Legends ZA coming out on the 16th, which means by the next episode of this show, the game will already be out. So hopefully I'll be able to provide you with some initial impressions on Legends ZA at that time. I've played quite a bit of it, as you know. I won't rehash my experience, but it's good. It's one of my most anticipated games this year. But November, going into November, we have a ton to look forward to. I personally am very hyped for Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection coming on October 30th. If you don't know, MK is a big part of my childhood. I really was in love with the series back then. I still continue to enjoy MK to this day, but nothing is really quite as cool to me as the golden age of fighting games. MK1, MK2, 3, UMK3, those are all like just kind of foundational fighting games for me. So being able to have a behind the scenes look at those games is something I'm really, really excited for. So if you're out there, anyone at Digital Eclipse, let me know. I'd love to look further into that. But looking past that into November, we have quite a few games. I'm actually going to look at my phone for reference here because I have a few written down. Obviously, at the beginning of the month, we have Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I don't think I need to tell you how much of a Zelda fan I am, but if you don't know me personally, I like Zelda a lot. I have collected every version of Zelda from every region. Age of Imprisonment is one of my most anticipated games. And given that it's on the Switch 2, then I actually am not going in expecting it to perform poorly. I think that we'll see something that runs at a solid 60 FPS. The Switch 2 has proven that it can run games like this very well. So more to come on that. Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 are coming on the 13th of November. Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, if you don't know what I mean by that, is coming to the Switch on November 14th. And then, of course, on the 20th, we have Kirby Air Riders. And I'm going to be real with you guys for a sec, because I have played Kirby Air Riders. I don't think this one's for me. I don't think that I am going to be super hype for this one. The brief demo I played at PAX did not really click for me. I don't think it was bad. It just wasn't my kind of game. I had trouble with it. It just felt like I needed something more to get me into it. I also was not a big fan of Kirby on the GameCube back in the day, the original Kirby Air Riders. So I don't know that this is going to do a lot for me. I'm hopeful that when it comes out, maybe they'll have a demo that outlines, that gives me a bit more of a feel for it. But as it stands right now, this is not a day one pickup for me. It's just not something that I'm really excited to play. But I know Daniel, Brandon, and them are very interested in it. So I'll probably have one of them on the podcast to talk about that game when the time comes, although I'm sure we'll have separate coverage because it's a first party Nintendo game. So it will likely carry a video on its own. But yeah, that's the immediate future for the Switch 2. Of course, if you're talking all the way to the end of November, you can't go without mentioning Metroid Prime 4, which is right at the start of December on December 4th. I'm really, really looking forward to this game. Brandon and I played it back in April, and I imagine it's only gotten better since then. But I do have a question for those of you out there. And this is going to be, this is an interesting one. This is something that I want to explore a bit with those of you in the audience. So for me, I have every TV in my house can do 120 FPS. That was kind of what I factored into my purchasing decision. I benefit from the fact that I only moved here recently, so I had to buy TVs for the house when I got here. But do you have a 120 FPS TV? And if you don't, does it matter at all? Do you care about Switch 2 games that are 120 hertz? There's quite a few of them out there now. Another one that I'll talk about later in the show here. But I tend to prefer the fluidity of 120 FPS, particularly in games like shooters or even platformers, basically games that require quick button response over the kind of visual splendor, if you will, of 4K, right? Like the visual fidelity. I'd rather take a hit in visual fidelity to trade off for fluidity. For instance, on my PS5, I play Fortnite in 120 FPS mode, even though I don't get any of the cool Lumen ray tracing enhancements, because that is a game that you benefit from having that additional frame rate. So if you do, do you have a 120 FPS TV in your home? And if not, do you play in handheld in a 120 FPS in supported games? I don't know that there actually are any 120 FPS handheld mode games now that I've said that. I could be completely mistaken on that. The screen on the Switch 2 supports 120 hertz, but I don't know that any games in handheld mode yet actually play at that. I'll have to see if the Mina the Hollower demo does that, which is a great transition point into our news. So earlier this week, it was announced by Yacht Club that they will be delaying Mina the Hollower out of October 31st, Halloween, into a nebulous future date, though they have said that it won't be a very long delay. And I found this to be a very interesting delay announcement because I actually had some insight into this about not necessarily the delay happening itself. Definitely did not know about that. But in terms of the mentality around the studio at the time. But Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, who is probably one of the best reporters in the business right now, actually went to Yacht Club Studios office the day after the announcement and got to talk to the developers and see some of the things that they want to fix before they release the game. And while they were all very minor things, they were things that kind of add up and take development time and require resources. And it was all just simple things like not good enough signposting. In the art of game design, signposting means kind of guiding the player without the player knowing that they're being guided, like putting a log at an exit. Or one specific example that Jason gives is that there is apparently a point in the game in which you go to a shop, and that shop, players weren't finding it or during their playthrough tests. And so they added some pink tiles to the ground to indicate, hey, there's something over here so that you can find it, because apparently the shop that you go into is completely pink. So adding just a little trail to, again, signpost to the player that there is something you can do there, that you're being kind of funneled in that direction. And that's something that good games do very subtly, right? Like with Nintendo in Mario 1-1, they put Mario kind of off to the side because there is the chance that a player will want to run left. And when you run left, you'll bump into the very edge of the world, kind of telling you like, yeah, you don't go left in this game, you go right. Obviously, that's a very simplistic example, but that's a kind of the idea of teaching a player how a game works or showing them what to do without having, Navi popping up telling you exactly in no uncertain terms what it is. So I think that that's a really cool idea. I'm glad that they're taking extra time to polish it, and I think that the game will be better for it. It sounds like Jason Schreier has indicated that it's going to be a couple of months, so Mina the Hollower may end up being a Christmas game instead of a Halloween game, and I'm of the mind that that's fine. When I played Mina the Hollower at PAX West 2025, Yacht Club was not there in force at all. There were 2 people from the team at the show, and everyone else stayed behind to continue work on this game. So I feel bad for the team because obviously they have worked very hard to get this game finished, and it just didn't get there in the time frame that they wanted it to. But after playing both the private demo at PAX West and the publicly available Switch 2 eShop demo, I know I'm going to like this one. I'm very confident that they've cooked up something really nice and unique. I'm a big fan of Yacht Club style. Shovel Knight was fantastic. This is their first internally developed game since then. So it kind of shows, there's a lot riding on this for them. And I think that it's going to end up being pretty dang impressive. Now, the next things I'd like to talk about, there are two stories that I think are very interesting. Apparently, Nate the Hate has gone on the record saying that Red Dead 2 is being worked on for the Switch 2. That would be a pretty big deal. We have Red Dead 1 on the Switch 1, but Rockstar traditionally hasn't provided a lot of support. And I want to, I thought about this the other day. I posted this on Bluesky, I think. But the existence of the Xbox Series S may be one of the best things for the Switch 2. And the reason I say that is that obviously when we look at games and we look at current gen games, we have to account for the lowest common denominator. And when you talk about games that are being developed with consoles in mind, then that is the Xbox Series S. And the Switch 2 has shown that it can pretty much handle anything you would throw at the Series S. And because of its built-in support for DLSS, it can at times run games even better than that. And that got me thinking, if you're going to release Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Series S, then you can definitely also get it running on the Switch 2. I think when people look at the high-end footage that Rockstar uses in their trailers, obviously that is almost certainly, PC footage running on something like an RTX 5090, which, yeah, that footage at that level of quality would not be possible on the Nintendo Switch 2, no matter what you do. But the idea that the game itself cannot run is wrong. If it can run on a Series S, it can run on a Switch 2. And I don't think, I want to be clear, I don't think we're going to get a day and date Switch 2 version of Grand Theft Auto 6. But just for a moment, in a hypothetical landscape, I'd like you to imagine that we're watching a Nintendo Direct and we get Grand Theft Auto 6 just comes up on the screen. We see the trailer, we see the same stuff we've seen, but this time it's saying that it's coming to Switch 2. I don't know how much I could contain my excitement in that moment. I would love to see Nintendo finally make nice with Rockstar and get something this big, because John just recently put out a video, or maybe is putting out a video. By the time this episode goes live, the video may be out, it may not, about GTA on Nintendo platforms. And the history of GTA on Nintendo platforms is interesting because Nintendo has gotten basically kind of bespoke versions of GTA. Of course, they got Chinatown Wars as well, but they got their own port of these games. But they've never really had whatever the big current GTA game is on any of their hardware that I can remember. Obviously, GTA 5 has never come to a Nintendo platform. Same for GTA 4. GTA 3, we got on the Switch, which is quite a while later. We had Chinatown Wars. We had GTA 1 and 2, and then we had GTA Advance. So we've gotten a lot of love from Rockstar, but it's always been very clear that they kind of view Nintendo as an also-ran. That they provide these games, but they provide them so long after their period of relevance that it takes on a different life within the Nintendo community, because Nintendo fans have been starved of these games. And what we have here finally is the presentation of an opportunity for Rockstar to say, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to support this from the jump. And I think that it would be massive. I don't think we exist in a world in which it would in any way outsell PlayStation or anything like that. But I do think that the response from Nintendo fans to a Rockstar game that is not, super old or a very pared down version, I think it would be bigger than most people expect. I think it would perform very, very well. And I do think that there's a subset of people, very casual fans, who would look at GTA 6 and value the idea of playing it portably more than having to sit down on your couch. People are busier than ever these days. They want to travel more. They expect to be able to carry more things with them thanks to the world we live in which our phones are capable of so much, that I think people would like the idea of having access to a full-fledged GTA in their bag on the go. So I don't think it's happening day one, but I do think it's happening eventually. I think that we are going to, at some point during the Switch 2's lifespan, get a port of GTA 6. That would just be cool. And I know it's a lot of pie in the sky thinking, but, I can hope. We live in hope. And if I could get GTA on the Switch 2, I would be so incredibly happy. I would just be thrilled to have that. But regardless, May next year, I will be playing it on whatever platform I can get my hands on it on. But if you're listening, Rockstar, come on, just do it. It'll be fine. You can make it happen. Anyway, let's move on to probably the biggest news story as of the recording of this, because it's something that is grounded in fact. And that is that Assassin's Creed Shadows, not GTA. I was almost going to say GTA again. Assassin's Creed Shadows has leaked for the Nintendo Switch 2. And normally I don't put a lot of stock or faith into retailer leaks. This came from some French retailer, but they had very accurate box art, like official asset looking box art. Normally retailers, when they put up a dummy listing or a fake listing based on what they may want to have happen, they just don't even bother. They don't mock up their own asset. They just, don't put an image. It just says coming soon and there's nothing there. This had, what looks like an asset they got from Ubisoft. It's the Switch 2 box with the art, with the game key card banner, which this game of all games would definitely come on a game key card. And it pairs with reporting we have from Nate the Hate, who has had a really stellar track record lately. We'll have to see what happens with Red Dead Redemption 2. But, he's correctly predicted the timing of every direct in recent memory. So I don't think we're going to be far off in hearing about this one. If Ubisoft has provided official art assets to retailers, that means that an announcement of this game at minimum is imminent. I don't know about release. I would suspect early 2026. I don't think they're going to be bringing it out any sooner than that. But we've seen already with Star Wars Outlaws what Ubisoft is capable of pulling off on the Switch 2, and it's nothing short of impressive. Star Wars Outlaws uses hardware ray tracing and DLSS to achieve some pretty fantastic results on Nintendo's handheld, and they've recently gone further with the polish and made it look even better. I haven't checked out the update myself, but I've been told that it looks and performs better, and it was already quite impressive once I played it in the comfort of my own home. So I think we have a lot to look forward to here with this. If you've never played Assassin's Creed Shadows, it is a deeply impressive game from a technical perspective, even on the PS5 Pro. So on the most powerful console on the market, it is a looker. It's one of the best looking games I've seen. It looks better in some instances than even Ghost of Yotei, which only just recently came out. So kudos to Ubisoft on something that looks really amazing. I hope that they implement the same cross-save system that they did for Star Wars Outlaws with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't think we'll be waiting too long to hear about this, though. I think it's a matter of weeks at this point until we get an official confirmation of the game's existence from Ubisoft. So hopefully not waiting a super long time, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So that is a look ahead and what's going on right now. So before we close the show, I want to take you through what I've been playing lately. Because what I've been playing is just a handful of Switch 2 games. So I want to start, I talked about this a bit in the previous episode, but I've been playing quite a bit of Hades 2. It's kind of become a fascination of mine, if you will. Hades 2 has just kind of this addictive quality to it. You just want to pick it up and do one more run. One more. It's a game that seldom feels unfair. It feels very well balanced, especially because just like any other roguelite, as you die, you're able to then spend currency to upgrade your character to get permanent unlocks that make you more effective in combat. And it's just got such a satisfying, simple but satisfying gameplay hook to it that I just keep wanting to do that get up one more time, challenge one more time. And as of the, production of this podcast, I still haven't finished Hades 2. I haven't rolled credits. I haven't gotten very far at all, to be honest. I'm getting my butt absolutely kicked in Hades 2. But what I do know is that I'm enjoying those moments enough to continue to come back. And as I kind of shift between other games, I'm playing a lot of Ghost of Yotei right now. I'm playing a lot of other Switch 2 games. I've been playing a lot of, just various things here and there. I find myself thinking about Hades 2 more than any of those others, wanting to go back into it more than any of the other games that I'm playing currently. But because it's such I like this term that someone used with me recently, a low lift game. And I know that that's meant more in terms of technical prowess, but in this case, I consider it in terms of needing to stay engrossed, right? Like the narrative of Hades is simple enough that I don't feel like I can forget it very easily. I'm hunting Kronos. That's all that really matters. There are things that happen in between, but they're not nearly, it's a game you can put down, pick up, and not feel like you've forgotten everything, because it's got an almost arcadey nature to it. Like, it's very simple to pick up and remember where you were and remember the controls and remember the quirks of combat, which for the record is deeply satisfying. I don't know what it was about Hades 1 that didn't pull me in this way, but Hades 2 has sunk its claws firmly into me. I am enjoying the ever-loving heck out of it, and officially I would give it a 9. It is near perfection. It is such a wonderful game to play, and it has some of the best designed boss battles in any game I've played this year. In fact, it has the best musical boss battle I think I might have ever played, and that is in the same year that Silksong came out, with a boss battle of its own that was absolutely bonkers and a lot of fun. So excellent job to Supermassive Games on this one. I can't get enough of it, and I'll probably be playing it for many, many, many more weeks. Hopefully I'll actually beat it this time. Moving on, I can't give an official recommendation one way or the other to this next game, but I do want to let you know that I've been playing a bit of Little Nightmares 3 on the Switch 2, and I've only had it for a couple of days, so I've played a very small amount of it. I've been playing through it with my wife because it is designed for co-op. This is a co-op game through and through. This is not a game you play by yourself. You can have an AI partner. You can technically play it by yourself, but you really shouldn't. You're doing yourself and the game a disservice by doing that. And I've enjoyed what I've played, but I also can't really say that there's very much going on beyond surface level enjoyment here. It's fun. It's interesting, but it's the kind of game that you play just to do something together with someone else. It's not really a game that I would consider to be super, super creative or engaging, or doesn't make me rack my brain. The puzzles aren't very difficult. The platforming isn't very difficult. There never really feels like I'm at risk of doing anything, but at the same time, it's just entertaining enough that it can be something where I hop on game chat and I'm talking to a friend and we're just kind of passively playing this game together. If you're looking for something where you can just shut your brain off and focus more on the conversations you're having with the people you're playing with, then you might find some enjoyment here. But if you're looking for real depth and real meat on these bones, I haven't found it yet. And I don't think I'm going to, based on just the fact that it feels very like, oh, I'm going to turn a wrench. I'm going to climb a ladder. I'm going to smack a wall. Nothing has really surprised me yet in this game. And I was kind of hoping it would. There are other co-op games that draw you into the experience quite a bit more. Like Chariot is a great example. If you've never played Chariot, it's a small indie game that came out many, many years ago at this point. And it's absolutely worth trying. It would benefit from game chat integration quite a bit. I don't know that Chariot ever released on Switch. I played it on Xbox One. But Chariot itself is fun. Nobody Saves the World is a lot of fun. There are different co-op games, but if you want one where you really just want to be playing a game so that you have an excuse to talk to someone, Little Nightmares 3 can serve that purpose. I think visually it's quite beautiful, especially on Switch 2, but I don't think there's a whole lot beyond that. But if you're looking for that, that's an experience you can have. Those are the games I've been playing. So I want to talk about something that is a little off the beaten path for the week in Nintendo. I want to talk about a video that I made, and then kind of the nature of this job, if that's okay. So I made a video about not needing a review for Super Mario Galaxy. And I'm not going to repeat, obviously, the same points that I did ad nauseum there, but essentially the idea was that there are some games that I think there is both a critical and a player consensus on, right? I think Mario Galaxy is one of a handful of games that's like that. And when I say Mario Galaxy, I do mean 1 and 2. But I think both critics and fans agree. That sounds very much like a trailer ad, but in this case, it makes sense that Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are phenomenal games. I don't think that there's anybody out there that really questions the quality of Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. I don't think that there's much controversy about them. But I did get a very valid point from someone who said that they saw value in a review of the port strictly on the merits of its performance versus the original. And I frankly did not consider that, but it is an excellent port. These are excellent ports. I thought it was just kind of obvious that they were excellent, and maybe that's not true. So if I missed on that for you guys, I apologize. But these ports, in case you're wondering, before I continue, they're absolutely rock solid. They run perfectly. They're in 4K. This is Nintendo treading into what was previously only possible in the realm of emulation, right? Doing a version of this game that runs at a ridiculously high resolution, runs at an excellent frame rate. These are still beautiful games, but they do, they didn't increase the poly count on Mario. They didn't add level geometry anywhere. So they still look like, 2008 and 2010 games. It's a very interesting state that the industry's in, because I don't think Nintendo fans cared much about that type of information these days, but obviously, everybody cares about everything to varying degrees. And when I had originally written an entire review for the game that was very much just based on the merits, right? Talking about how these games are wonderful and the variety of levels is beautiful and the planetoid and gravity mechanics are so much fun and novel still, even after all these years. Especially because Nintendo kind of never went back to them after that duology. They left those mechanics behind and moved on to Cappy and the capture mechanic, to say nothing of the 3D land and world games. So I felt like there wasn't anything productive that I could add to a conversation about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. And I learned a little bit that there are some things that y'all want to hear about. But I'm curious still, I wanted to kickstart a conversation about the value of video games, about, how we all individually value our games. And, because for some folks, it's just a matter of time, right? You have X number of hours to game and you want to play only new experiences because you'd rather see and experience new things with the time that you have. And that makes a ton of sense to me. In most cases, I'm very much the same way. My wife is very much a gaming comfort food type of person. She will play through her favorite games just over and over again. And that baffles me, because to me, I really like to have new experiences and try new things. And I'm not saying she never tries new things, but she definitely has a few, like a core set of games that when she doesn't have other things to play, or she doesn't immediately see something that catches her interest, she might go back and play The Last of Us again, or she might play God of War again. Whereas I personally prefer to see whatever the new thing is and roll the dice on whether I'm going to have fun with it or not. I end up playing a lot of games that way. But the other thing that I found interesting about all of this is that after so long in this profession, after playing games, I don't want to say professionally because that makes me sound like an esports person, but playing games as a job for so long, I forgot in a weird way kind of how different it can be to play games at your own pace, at just the speed at which life moves. Because often with a game, you're trying to hit an embargo or you're trying to make coverage. And that can lead to you playing a game way, way, way faster than you normally might. Whether that's because you just want to see as much of the world as possible before you sit down to write or to talk about a game, or because, you just have to get through it before you need to hit a deadline, right? There are some cases in which you just don't have much time and you have to get through a game. I've been taking the approach of just playing games slower, just playing them until I don't want to. And I think that says a lot about a game, right? When you ignore the deadlines and you ignore the, when you need to get something published, and you just play a game the way you would if you had bought it and you were sitting with it, and that's not to say we get all these games for free. We certainly don't. There are plenty of cases in which we just buy the game and we make the coverage, but, I still, in many cases where I've paid for a game, I'll play through it as hard as I can, to both avoid spoilers and to get coverage out while people still want to see coverage, because that narrow window still exists, whether I want it to or not, in which the most amount of people are looking for information about a game. So you try to get your review or your editorial out in a time where people still care, where people still want to see and hear and listen to you talk about all of these things. And so with Galaxy, I played them very leisurely. I tried to just play them until I didn't want to, and then I would pick them up again. But with a game like Galaxy, it's pretty easy to continue to want to. But I've also been trying that with a few other games that I'm not tied to an embargo for, where I can pretty much post coverage whenever I'm ready. And that's going to lead to me trying some things with some games that end up going slower. I didn't get Hades 2 until it came out, so I'm only talking about it now, but very briefly. Let me know if you'd like me to talk more about it, like outside of the podcast, by the way. But I'm realizing that kind of the rush to get coverage out can be damaging in certain cases, that you can end up with a worse or lower opinion of a game because you had to push your way through it, like a job, right? Like you didn't get to put it down when you felt like it was time to put it down and walk away from it. Because lots of us, when you buy a game, you're not probably playing through that game just endlessly, right? You're probably putting it down, playing until you feel like playing something else, or you feel like, you've had enough of that game, moving on to the next thing. I don't know. But I find that when I don't have, when there's no reason outside of enjoyment to play a game, that I tend to take it a bit slower depending on the game. I think the perfect game is the one that you play like it's a job because you want to, not because you have to. And that is a very rare thing for me these days. I end up just playing games because I have to, as much as, I may want to. So it's, every game gets played like it has to be beaten as quickly as possible. And I think that sometimes that can lead to worse coverage. It can lead to opinions that aren't fully formed. It can lead to ideas creeping their way into coverage that don't necessarily make a ton of sense from a normal person's perspective, from a regular player's perspective. And I think it's really important to remember that to both avoid burnout and to just enjoy your games. Just enjoy what you play. If you're not having fun, then why are you playing? And I think that that's the key, right? That we should stop playing anything that isn't bringing us joy. Like if you're not enjoying a game, then why give it your time, energy, or attention? I think that's the thought that I'm going to leave on today. I'm focusing more on playing games in a way that brings me joy. And hopefully that joy kind of makes its way out into the coverage and the videos that you guys get from me and from everyone else. It's important, right? We want to have fun doing this as much as we want to have fun playing games. So I want to thank all you guys for hanging out with me today, listening to that rambly bit on the end about what it's like covering games for a living. And yeah, that's going to do it for us today. I hope you all are happy, safe, and healthy wherever you are, and I will see you next week right here on The Week in Nintendo. Until then, bye.